Atma here. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna do another deck tech here, kind of a day one affair. So I'm gonna make a green black counters deck, like from complete conception on. This is kind of just how I start building decks, like on day one, like it is today, of a new set. I'm gonna try and make like a green black or Abzan counters deck, which is something that is a new mechanic. Or not a new mechanic, but a new archetype that may be a thing. So usually what I do is I start off by I just put everything down that seems reasonable right away. A lot of these things care about artifacts. Revolt's a little hard. This guy's not quite good enough, I don't think. I don't know how easy it's going to be to turn on Revolt, but maybe. Delirium might be hard to get. I think you need too much energy for that guy. This is a guy that I really like. He comes in with 2 counters and he moves counters each turn, so I think that guy will be pretty good. This guy... doubt I'll want too many of those. If I play Abzan, this thing will be decent. 3/4 for 3. That gets 3 counters right away. So that's maybe. I'll keep it in mind. And this might actually be an Armorcraft Judge situation. Cares about 1/1 counters, so obviously Verdurous Gearhulk. I think this guy might actually be decent. 1/1 on every creature when it comes into play. Why isn't that snake here? Snake's like the piece, the gold piece. Maybe it doesn't say 1/1 counter on the actual filter. We're learning stuff about this game. Okay, so I had to click a whole bunch of times to try and find the snake. Pretty sure they put this thing in the game. There he is. Winding Constrictor, okay. So for some reason that didn't come up because it doesn't actually say 1/1 counters on this thing. It just adds counters in general, not necessarily +1/+1 counters. That's too expensive. So +1/+1 counters. Then we'll see if there's just anything else that does anything. This might be a little too expensive. See, splashing white for something like Oath of Ajani seems decent. So maybe. This is kind of cool. +1/+1 counter on target creature and a +1/+1 counter on each creature you control with a +1/+1 counter. Maybe it's a little too cute. 4 mana too. This is too slow. Oh, obviously we want Nissa. Lead by example. This is pretty cute too. Maybe 1 at best. Yeah, that's kind of cool. Sometimes you just want some normal spells. And like I'm thinking about Fatal Push right now as something that I would potentially want. Oh, it still cares about +1/+1 count. That's kind of annoying that you have to keep filtering. So Fatal Pushes seem good. I don't want to do any double black or double green. It's one of the problems with white is a lot of the stuff that cares about +1/+1 counters is double white. So you have to be double white or heavy white. And that's limiting. So I'd have to be like a white-green splash black. Not out of the realm of possibility, but maybe I'll just start with black-green. I mean, this is a pretty good starting point. I think I'm not going to make the Abzan right now. I feel like it's better to do black-green and then maybe power up from there. So usually what I do is I try and get down to like 36 cards here. Just by making pushes or cuts that are reasonable. I think that with the 5 drops, we need to be a lot faster for that card. We're not going to do Delirium. I don't know, this might be just a little too cute. Not sure. I like Yahenni. He can protect himself pretty well. We have a lot of creatures in this deck. Double black on Kalitas I don't love. It's fine in 2-color, but powerful card for sure. Maybe we don't need like 3 of these, maybe like 2. This guy's initial rate of 2/2 for 3 is pretty miserable. It's gonna be bad on defense. So I gotta make like 2 more cuts. I guess the most reasonable thing would just be like maybe this. And I don't know. We don't have that many spells, so maybe I just cut like one of these. Now usually what I do after I make my first pass, like I just test these. I let the computer autocomplete for me on lands, even though I'm not going to use a lot of the stuff they're going to use. You know, cut this, cut this. I'm going to keep the Evolving Wilds in for Tireless Trackers. I don't think I want tapped lands coming in, so I think we probably just... Apologize, I still have a little bit of a cold. I think we want to check and see what kind of lands we could possibly put in. I think Aether Hub is actually decent. Not perfect, but more black sources that come in untapped. Yeah. So yeah, nothing too fancy. Just something like this. Something like this. And yeah, so I'll put the deck list below and we'll get some games in. Alright, so I'm about to queue for round 1. So the whole thing about this deck is it's supposed to do what the like green-white decks do, or even just the white decks, and +1/+1, except it has to be counters, which is awkward. So like the Gideon and Always Watching doesn't really fit into the plan, which is why white is a little bit expendable. But still, you'd rather have Gideon than not, on average. So it might actually be worth being green-white splash black eventually. But we're going to try out the green-black version first and feature it today. Let's see how it works. So that's way too much land and way too much of a lot of stuff. This is actually fine. This does a lot of the stuff we want to do. Yeah, okay. I like to play 1-drops, but we need this black. Sometimes you can get a little too cute. Okay, so that's pretty typical as going against a spells deck. Hopefully this Winding Constrictor gets to stay on board and do its thing, because it is a good card. It's pretty much the whole thing we're building around here is this Winding Constrictor. So if it was to die right now, that would be very disappointing. That's decent. So I think what we do here... Crack that. Because the Evolving Wilds left the battlefield, we got Revolt. So we got a counter, and because we had Winding Constrictor, we got 2 counters. So we have a 3/4 Death Touch for 1 mana. And that's kind of how this deck is going to be unfair, is doing those types of things. I think under normal circumstances I would just Scrounging Bandar, but I did want to show that because I am showing off how this deck works. So this Constrictor's exiled now, which is very unfortunate. Hopefully we'll get a land here. Bandar. Alright, well I think it's pretty clear that we Bandar. Hopefully we draw another Constrictor. Kind of thinking about getting this guy up to a 4/5 because the spells deck has a lot of things that will do 4 damage. Oh yeah, so never mind. This is going to do 4 damage. This is the exact thing I would have liked to avoid, is this thing getting killed, but this is the deck. I mean, this is just one of those top decks, and they have a lot of answers, not much else. Walking Ballista, now that's interesting. I think I want to wait on that. Let's get another Bandar out there. Actually, I'm going to play this Tireless Tracker, even though we're not getting value from it, because I don't have a land. I just want to use mana more efficiently. Because if I get a land, then I want to be able to play 2 things next turn. I assume he'll just kill this Tireless Tracker anyway. Okay, that's fine. We actually need to draw cards if we're not going to draw land. Yeah, we'll do this. Alright, so we got our land. Take a damage. 2 damage even. I'm going to hold up this lead by example, see if he tries to burn something. Alright, so he's just going to try and mill us. That's not really going to work out for him. Yeah. He's certainly hosed. He's just dead on board now. Well, I mean, this is what happens in the early ranks. Like, he's only rank 3, so he didn't really... He may just not have had anything, but he is dead. For sure. We'll show him what we got, just for fun. This kind of thing is really silly. Alright, so successful round 1. And come back for game 2. You know, it's like I said, I'll play bare bones versions of these decks. Like the first pass. Like, this is a rough draft, but I'll play them for a while just to make sure I see what's working, like in the base synergy, particularly with synergy decks like this. And then if things aren't really working, or I need more answers, I'll put them out for other things. So this hand is slow because of the land, but it has everything we want, which is Walking Ballista, double Winding Constrictor. So we'll take our chances. If we get an untapped land, then we really get to go off quickly, because we have 5 2-drops, and we want to play one on turn 2 for sure, but I was willing to wait until turn 3 just because the strength of this hand is so high. And we will be waiting until turn 3. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention, I did put this card in between games, just because I wanted to try it out. It only puts 1/1 counter on the target creature, which is a little shitty. But being able to put counters on all the creatures is occasionally insane, so I wanted to try it and just see how it looked. It was a little too early to start swapping things, but I was curious. So in this case, I assume he's got a Harness Lightning, but I'm just going to risk it because you can't just play around everything. We have double We have double Constrictor, so that's okay. No Harness Lightning. Okay, so he's playing a... I guess this makes mana sort of thing. Usually I'd want to just throw Yahenni out there, but I actually want to Seed Sculpt. Maybe I don't. Maybe I just want a Constrictor again. If he has Declaration in Stone, we get very much punished for this. But the upside of him not killing a Constrictor and us getting two extra counters on everything is pretty high. If he deck in stones, we just lose the game. But if he doesn't deck in stone, then we kind of go off, I think. Especially if we draw another untapped land, we get to super go off. I'm not sure this Lifecrafter's Gift is actually good enough. I mean, it doesn't just put 1/1 counters on things. Like, 1/1 counters go on things if they already have 1/1 counters. That's a little awkward. Untapped land. Okay, that's not an untapped land. So I'm going to leave this lead by example up because I can make these into 4/5s. And I want to make sure that we don't get screwed by something insane. Then again, I could Walking Ballista for 1 and kill something in response. Yeah, so if he tries to equip this, I can now just kill with this Walking Ballista. This is the card that, aside from the Constrictor, which is the cornerstone of the deck, this is really the haymaker. You can remove a 1/1 counter at instant speed, even after attacking. You don't have to tap it or anything, just to fireball them or their creatures. It's pretty nuts. So, we're going to go for this, because we don't want them to have Nimbus Wings. We wanted that to resolve first. We didn't want to do both, because we wanted to make sure that there was a 1/1 counter on there first. So that's just a clean 2-for-1. But like if he went for a pump spell after taking the 1 damage, then we could respond and kill our Walking Ballista. So that's kind of where you want to be. We do want an untapped land here though. And we did get one. But we're going to wait on this Tireless Tracker. And we're going to go ham with the Kujar. So that goes up to 4 counters. And I can make these into 4/5s. So I think we attack with everything. Any double block he makes is going to be just pain for him. Normal people would leave after they get blown out like this. Oh, they become 5/6s even. It's nuts. Because they get a counter and then 1 extra counter, that's why. And there's 2 Constrictors. So you see how out of hand this deck has become immediately. We'll just polish it off with this Lifecrafter's Gift. We can actually do 7 damage to him right now with this thing. And just do 7. Which is pretty nuts. Normally I would kill this end of turn. Like if he was at a lot more life, we would just make sure that this was out of the way. Like, who needs removal spells when you have Walking Ballista in this deck, right? And they all get counters. And we just go cray. Oh, wait, what did this say? Look how many counters this got. What happened? You get a counter on target creature, then put a 1/1 counter on each creature you control with a 1/1 counter on. Okay, so it got a counter and then 2 counters, and then it got a second counter and 2 counters. That's pretty nuts. So that's pretty cute. I liked that. I should have targeted Walking Ballista with it. That's pretty insane. That was a good addition. That's expensive, but well worth it if you're doing counters. On to game 3. All right, sparking up game 3. Black-green counters. So far it's gone extremely well. We learned some stuff. We learned that Walking Ballista was as good as I had predicted in the top 10 Aether Revolt cards video. Maybe Winding Constrictor is a little bit better than I thought. I mean, it seemed clearly good, but it is insane. All right, so with this hand, what you want to do is you start off with Undercity Troll, and then if he doesn't have any blockers, we can Winding Constrictor and attack for 2, and it'll get 2 counters. He does have a blocker, but we still do the same thing. Because he'll have to chump block. This is a mill card, energy mill. I know people love milling, especially at lower levels. It's actually good at high levels sometimes too, particularly when control is very prevalent. So what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to play the Constrictor to punish him even further for not blocking. But I presume he'll block. Unless he's got a pump spell, which would be very, very strange for a... Okay, so I don't know what he's doing. Oh, he's milling himself. Oh, grapple with the past. Oh, he's doing some cool stuff. I have actually used this guy to try and go off with grapple with the past. But you see, as this renowned creature, he gets 2 counters now instead of 1, which is pretty insane. You don't have to revolt, by the way. With this guy, like a 1/2 death touch when you know you're going to get counters on it anyway is perfectly acceptable. I wouldn't go out of my way to revolt, although I have a couple times, and that's one reason Yahenni is in here. Yahenni can sacrifice her own creatures, and the as you saw in game 1, you can trigger that with an Evolving Wilds as well, which is pretty nice. So this next turn I could Armorcraft Judge, but I think it'd be better to just Tireless Tracker. Yeah, that's insane. That's insane if we draw a land after this. Alright, so we'll come in. I don't think he's going to be milling us fast enough. It appears he has black in his deck too, so he's Sultai Mill. I have actually tried to do something like that before, but it was not particularly successful. He's not milling, though, really. He's self-milling so that he can go off with graveyard strategies. Oh, yeah, Necromantic Summon. So he's probably got ways to, like, get Ulamog in the graveyard, or things like that. I think a card like Boral's Expertise would go in a deck like his. And that card would completely blow us out right now. It would set us so far back. But on the other hand, if we Verdurous Gearhulk, next turn the game is like over. He'll be in so much trouble. Come on, land. Land, land, landy land. That's not the right land, but it's fine. Pretty much no matter what, I'm going to crack both of these clues. Instead of Armorcraft Judge. So he takes all of it. So it goes to 5. We draw. Lead by example. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 13, 14, 15, 16. Pulse of Marasa gains 6 life. He's lucky he had that. So now he needs to be able to fog us, and I don't really foresee him having a fog. I don't recognize this guy at all. His deck's weird. It's not wrong. It's just, it's a little too janky. Okay, so that sets back the Constrictor, I assume. Or maybe the Tireless Tracker? Yeah. That's okay. We're not even going to play Tireless Tracker next turn. I feel like he must have fog. That's a fog. Because he would have just left otherwise. Like, there's just no way for him to win on any turn for the remainder of the game without exactly fog. So now he's milling me. He got our Bandar. Speaking of this Bandar, you can actually have, with a Winding Constrictor, 2 Bandars out, and they can each give each other one of their counters at upkeep, but they'll get 2 counters, so they'll just keep growing each other. It's pretty absurd. So he hasn't left, which means he drew another fog, probably. Basically, we just attack until he runs out of fogs, and that's just it. That's the whole game at this point. Okay, he does not have a fog. Or he... Okay, he doesn't have another green, so he has to be dead. Unless he plays a green. Yep. He does not have a green nor a fog. But see, this Armorcraft Judge, like, it's a good card, but it was like a draft card. But now that we have this exact deck, we can do this stuff. Draw 4 cards. It's absurd. It is actually absurd. So this deck looks top tier. I know that we haven't exactly, we're not at rank 40 yet. It's just day 1. But this deck is happening right now in a big way. Maybe I'll do one more. We'll see. If not, see you next time. If I do, game 4. Here we are, kids. In Yi of game 4. As promised. Green-black counters going off. I said it could be one of the new pillars in my Aether Revolt primer video, and it certainly seems to be pretty good, as a first draft has just crushed the lower ranks so far. Double Yahenni is almost like having a 6-card hand. This is a bad hand. This is not great, but we're just going to have to make do. We don't have the situation to really curve out or anything, so this is pretty slow. Slower than we've been. We want a 2-drop here. Bandar, yeah. So this Bandar is just... It's my favorite card in the deck. It's not the most powerful, but it's my favorite. Winding Constrictor plus Bandar plus Walking Ballista is pretty much the end of the game. So he's going to give us a clue. I feel like he wouldn't have just snapped off a Declaration in Stone there unless he has another Declaration in Stone or some other removal spell. Yeah. So I'm just going to play the Tireless Tracker. If he's got the removal spell, and what I suspect it is it's the destroy something with 3 power or greater, Sky Whale or Shot is kind of what I expect him to be sandbagging here, or another Declaration in Stone. Oh, Talia. Alright, that's fine. So what I want here is to draw an untapped land so that I can Constrictor and snap off a clue. That's an untapped land. Okay, so do this. Constrictor. And then attack for 5. He may not realize it's this busted, though. Oh, he did realize. Seedsculptor's good. We just need our Constrictor to live. I would like the Tireless Tracker to live. Alright. That's actually not going to matter. I don't think we would have cracked all the clues this game anyway. Alright. This is an amazing turn. This is just amazing. So I get 2. And then... so 1, 2, 3. Alright, so we'll threaten the attack. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I can go to 6 with him. Although, I didn't really think about the Evolving Wilds and Talia there for a second, which is disappointing. I'm cracking this anyway. Better to see what I get. Alright, and then I'm going to play this Sculptor. I messed up a little there with the Evolving Wilds, but that's okay. Didn't look like he was keen to get rid of this anyway. Oh, he left, because this is out of hand. So now this is where it gets especially gross. Because now I can make a clue, have this leave the battlefield. I should have probably attacked first. Just attack with everything, I guess. Computer doesn't know how to play, but it's a-okay. Since we have clues leaving the battlefield and Evolving Wilds leaving the battlefield, we get to trigger this and he gets 2 counters. Now that we have 6 mana, 7 even, we can lead by example. Actually, I want to try something. I want to see if I can do this in response. So this guy enters the battlefield. Pause on the stack. Pause on the stack. Counter, counter. Draw 5. Yep. Fatal Push. Oh, this deck's so good. It's so good. It's so good. Hope you don't play it against me. It's so good. Wow. This has got to be competitive at top tier. Gross. Hope you enjoyed day 1 Aether Revolt solved. Holy shit. Holy shit. Good night. See you guys next time on Aether Revolt number 3. Don't know how artifacts are going to top counters. Whoo! Hot dog.